Ever wonder why some guys seem to run at the first sign of commitment? Jake was one of those guys, always chasing freedom, avoiding anything that felt too serious. But when he met Emily, everything changed. His journey from fear to love will make you rethink what it really means to commit. This is Jake's story. Jake's got beach town life down to a science. He's 32, living in a small, cluttered apartment overlooking the ocean, with surfboards stacked against the wall and postcards plastered like a scrapbook explosion. A freelance photographer, he's mastered the art of being busy enough, taking just enough gigs to pay the bills without ever feeling tied down. Freedom is his priority. When it comes to dating, Jake's a pro at casual. Swiping through profiles like a sport, he's got his game set. Coffee dates, beach walks, no talk of the future, and no second toothbrush in the bathroom. He's always up front, charming, but never sticking around for long. It's not that he doesn't like the women he meets. It's just that staying too long feels like losing himself. Jake's Instagram shows a highlight reel of sun-soaked beaches, sunsets, and road trips, and he basks in the likes and comments like they're fuel. It's an epic, carefree image he loves, even if it feels a bit hollow. Lately, though, things are shifting. His friends, the ones he used to chase sunsets with, are getting engaged and posting baby photos. Jake scrolls through, feeling a mix of envy and relief. That's not for me, he tells himself, but there's a nagging question. Is he really free or drifting? One night, on another dating app scroll, he spots Emily. Her profile is simple and real. She's smiling softly and holding a book and a coffee. They match, and soon they're chatting about travel spots and sunsets. Jake feels a spark he hasn't felt in years. It's unsettling, but he's curious enough to lean in. Little does he know, his life is about to get a serious shakeup. Jake's been living his so-called free life for years now. Surfing, beach bonfires, random road trips. It all sounds perfect, but lately, it's feeling a bit repetitive. He watches his friends settle down, post engagement photos, and even talk about kids. Jake keeps telling himself he doesn't want any of that, but there's a little pang every time he scrolls through those updates. Then he meets Emily. She's got this quiet confidence, and she's real. No filters, no fluff. They start chatting, and Jake feels something he can't quite pin down. Emily's not just another let's have fun and travel type. She's passionate about her work, protecting marine life, spending time cleaning up beaches, and volunteering. After a few days, she suggests a weekend road trip, and he's instantly intrigued. On the drive, he opens up more than usual. Emily listens and even pushes him, dropping a big question. What do you want out of life? Jake laughs it off, saying he's living it already, but she doesn't let it slide. Emily's been through a dead-end relationship, and she's searching for something real. She wants a partner in adventure and in life. That night, she calls him out by the campfire saying, "I think you're scared," and it hits him. She's right, he's terrified of becoming stuck, of losing himself in a routine. Yet, as he looks at Emily, he wonders if he's been running from something real all along. For the first time, Jake is facing his fears. Maybe commitment doesn't mean losing freedom. It just means choosing the right person to share it with. And Emily might be that person. Jake's on a road trip with Emily, and it's like a scene from a movie. They're cruising with the windows down, music blaring, laughing at her quirky jokes. She has this way of making him let his guard down. And for once, he's not in control. And he likes it. They end up in a small seaside town, far from everything. Emily suggests turning off their phones for the day. Usually, Jake would laugh it off, but he followed her lead. As they explore, try local food, and wander onto a hidden beach, Jake realizes he's genuinely in the moment, not thinking about social media, just enjoying where he is. They talk about everything and nothing. Emily's not just passionate. She has big dreams and is actually doing something about them. She wants to start her own nonprofit, and Jake's impressed. That night under the stars, she opens up about her past, and Jake finds himself doing the same. He talks about his dad and his fear of becoming tied down like him. Emily listens, and when she tells him, maybe you're not running from commitment, but from the wrong kind of commitment, it hits him. By the end of the weekend, Jake feels something he can't ignore. When Emily kisses him goodbye, it's different, like she really sees him. Driving home, he can't shake the feeling that this could be the beginning of something real. He is still scared, but for once, he's not running from it. He doesn't know where this will lead, but is ready to find out. Jake's trying to slip into his old routine back home, but something's off. Surfing, hitting the same bars, hanging with friends, it all feels empty. He keeps thinking about Emily, replaying their conversations, and it's messing with him. She's like a seed in his mind, and he can't shake it. Jake distracts himself with extra photography gigs, but even while editing, he wonders what Emily would think. He catches himself scrolling through her Instagram, piecing together her story. Maybe he doesn't have it all figured out like he thought. To shake it off, he dives back into dating apps, meeting a woman named Sarah. She's excellent, funny, into surfing, but halfway through the date, he compares her to Emily, realizing he's just going through the motions. By the night's end, he knows this isn't what he wants. After a few days, he finally breaks down and texts Emily. They start talking again, and Jake opens up about his fears, how he's scared of ending up like his dad, afraid commitment means losing himself. Emily listens, sharing her fears of settling for something safe and missing out on real love. With each conversation, Jake starts to see that maybe commitment doesn't mean giving up who he is. It could mean growing into something more. He finds himself making plans, thinking about the future without panicking. Once filled with symbols of freedom, his apartment now feels like it's missing something. Jake realizes that what he's been running from, commitment, might be what he's actually been searching for. It's terrifying and new, but for the first time, he's ready to stand on the edge of something real, willing to find out where it leads. Jake's starting to get comfortable with actually being uncomfortable. After years of avoiding commitment, he's leaning into it, and Emily's meeting him halfway, showing him that stability doesn't mean boring and love doesn't mean losing himself. One evening, she invites him to a dinner party with her friends. Usually, he'd skip something like this, but for Emily, he goes. Her friends talk about community projects and long-term goals, and he finds himself interested. They ask about his work, and when he tries to downplay it, Emily jumps in, praising his talent. Seeing himself through her eyes, he wonders if there's more to him than the guy who always runs away. After the party, they walk through the city arm in arm, talking about their future. She shares her dream of opening a community center, and for the first time, Jake imagines himself in that life, teaching photography and building something meaningful with her. It feels surprisingly right. They reach her apartment, and instead of his usual routine of ducking out, Jake stays. Sitting together, he feels an unexpected peace. He's not thinking about what's next or what he might miss out on. He's there, in the moment, with her. And that's when it hits him. Commitment doesn't feel like a trap with Emily. It feels like a choice he actually wants to make. Growing up doesn't mean giving up who he is. It means growing into someone ready to embrace what matters. Talking late into the night, Jake realizes he's not running anymore. He's found something worth holding on to. And for the first time, the future doesn't make him want to bolt. It feels like exactly where he's meant to be. Jake knows he has to take a leap if he wants a real future with Emily. So he invites her to a family event, something he's never done before. His family is complicated, especially his dad, the work-hard, settle-down type that Jake's always felt he could never live up to. Bringing Emily into this world is a huge step that makes him feel exposed. At his parents' house, Jake immediately feels tense. His dad's firm handshake and unspoken questions hang heavy. But Emily handles it like a pro. She charms his mom, laughs at his dad's stories, and makes everyone feel comfortable. Jake watches, both impressed and comforted. She fits in here, maybe even better than he does. As they sit for dinner, Jake's dad launches into his usual talk about responsibility and planning. Jake braces himself to deflect, but Emily surprises him. She shares their love for adventure, but adds they're excited about building a future together. She looks at Jake as she says it, and he realizes she's talking about them as a we. Jake starts talking too about his photography business and future plans. He lets his family see a different side of him for the first time, and even his dad listens, offering advice instead of criticism. It's not perfect, but it's a start. On the drive home, Jake feels lighter. He let Emily into his world, and it was worth it. The next day, he decides to take on a long-term photography project on marine conservation, something aligned with Emily's work. When he tells her, she lights up, and they start planning together. For the first time, Jake's not just daydreaming about a future, he's building it with Emily. It's scary, but it feels right. He's ready for what's next. After committing to the photography project with Emily, Jake feels like he's finally on solid ground. But just as he's settling into this new life, his old buddy Mike calls, offering a last-minute, all-expenses-paid trip to Bali, surfing, parties, and no commitments. For a moment, the temptation to drop everything and relive his carefree past is strong. But then, Jake stops himself. This time, escaping doesn't feel like freedom. It feels like running from the life he started building with Emily. He meets Mike to talk it over, and Mike teases him about getting soft, about how Emily's tied him down. For a second, Jake feels defensive, but then he realizes something. Freedom isn't about avoiding commitment, it's about redefining it. He tells Mike about his new life with Emily, and to his surprise, Mike raises his beer and says, "Sounds like you found something real." Jake laughs, feeling a weight lift off his shoulders. He heads back home, grounded and sure of his choice. That night, he talks to Emily about everything, his fears, the pull of his past, even the Bali trip. She listens and says, "I get it, but I'm glad you're here." Jake knows he made the right choice. His life hasn't lost excitement, it's found new meaning. He's no longer running from commitment, he's running toward it. As he and Emily dive into their project, Jake feels a sense of purpose he's never known. Everything that once felt temporary now feels more decadent and fuller. He's not the guy afraid of growing up anymore. He's the guy who's embracing it, and it feels better than any thrill he's ever chased. Jake's on a new path, and it feels amazing. He's still laid back, loves surfing and photography, but now he's found a way to balance freedom with commitment. Jake feels inspired in a way he never expected when he partners with Emily on a marine conservation project. Together, they're capturing stories of coastal communities and the beauty of marine life, each photo deepening their work and bond. One evening, as he snaps a candid shot of Emily against the sunset, he realizes this is what life's about, not just running free, but sharing moments with someone who makes him better. Sitting with her on the beach, he feels content, finally ready to leave his fears behind and say, "I'm all in." Months pass, and the project flourishes. They host workshops, organize cleanups, and build a community that feels like home. Even Jake's friends notice he's different, lighter, happier. Reconnecting with his family, he sees them warmly accepting Emily and realizes he's truly broken free from his old fears. As their first exhibition approaches, Jake surprises Emily with a simple locket, a photo of them inside. He tells her it symbolizes everything they've built together and his commitment to her. She tears up, and in that moment, he knows he's changed, not just for himself, but for them. Standing hand in hand, Jake feels he's finally discovered what real freedom means, a life grounded in love, partnership, and purpose. This is his new beginning, and for the first time, he's thrilled for what lies ahead. Jake's journey illustrates that a man's fear of commitment often stems from deeply rooted insecurities and past experiences. For Jake, that was a fear of growing up, being like his father, stagnant and predictable. It's not always about a lack of desire for connection, but rather a struggle to reconcile personal freedom with the responsibilities of a serious relationship. Women can take away that patience, and open communication are crucial. By creating a safe space for men to express their fears without judgment, you can help them navigate their insecurities. Understanding that commitment can be a transformative journey where both partners grow together can foster a deeper connection and encourage them to embrace the possibilities of a loving relationship. Ultimately, it's about recognizing that every relationship is a partnership. As men learn to confront and articulate their fears, they can discover that commitment isn't a loss of freedom, but an opportunity to build a life full of shared dreams and meaningful experiences.